lot of nuts!
Hey, what's going on, hyenas, and welcome back to another episode of the Spodcast. Audio versions are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Links are down in the description. Ad-free viewing and an extended or bonus version of this is available on Patreon for only $5 a month, and you get to support the show. The first story we're covering today, I feel like everybody on YouTube is a little bit dumb as shit. In my previous episode of the Spodcast, we talked about some sort of behind-the-scenes change that YouTube seems to have made that has resulted in a weird, ghostly, difficult-to-analyze loss in viewership for a number of channels across YouTube, small and large. It seems as though from sometime in the middle of August, give or take, everybody seems to have received some sort of massive reduction in their overall amount of viewerships. This is something that I noticed on my channel, but because it correlated with me switching formats and also taking a little bit of a 2-week hiatus from uploading, it was difficult for me to be able to be like, this is something wrong with YouTube. Rather, it very much felt like I just made some changes on the channel. This is probably reflective of that. But afterwards, we got videos from channels like Second Wind, Linus Tech Tips, Super Eye Patch Wolf, Red Letter Media, a number of other people all sort of self-analyzing their own numbers and speaking on each other's commentary, all coming to the conclusion that when they took a look at their own numbers on their channel, with long-standing shows and formats that they have been doing for years and years and years, have all seemingly noticed a sudden and abrupt change that has resulted in a lack of viewership, underperforming videos, way less views than they are accustomed to, starting right around the same week in the second week of August. What is going on? As I was recording the bonus version for Patreon, before I recorded the last episode, a number of people had reached out to me, and YouTube had suggested a video by the Spiffling Brit. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Spiffling Brit, he does do some videos sort of breaking video game mechanics in order to become super rich or take advantage of games in a way that sort of breaks the system that's intended and exploits and whatever. But his much bigger videos, the things that you probably know him for if you don't watch him for that, is the way that he sort of takes that same concept and applies it to YouTube. He has a number of videos on his channel, some of the most popular videos on his channel that I've seen, that are all taking advantage of the YouTube algorithm and showcasing the inner workings of how YouTube click-through rate, watch time, and a number of other things functions, and then sort of does a deep dive in a way to sort of explain how these inner workings of YouTube works, often in a manner where the video itself does something to try to exploit that nature. The one example I have off the top of my head was what I think was his most recent video, where he talked about how you can game the average view duration of YouTube. Obviously, the two things that everybody says you want to have as a YouTuber to make your videos go viral is a high click-through rate, which means you get a lot of people to click on your thumbnail, and a long average view duration, which means you get people to watch your video for longer. Now, in his video, he explains the difference between average view duration and total view duration. Basically, if somebody watches 5 minutes of a video and somebody watches 6 minutes of a different video, that different video will get 6 minutes of watch time. That all makes sense, right? But if that first video that you watched 5 minutes of is only 6 minutes long, and that second video that you watched 6 minutes of is 12 minutes long, well, you watched like 80% of that first video versus 50% of that second video, and that also gets factored into how much that video gets suggested. So what the Spiffling Brit did was, on top of explaining that in a video, he made his video twice as long as it needed to be. The second half of which, if I remember correctly, being a tier list of like British snacks or something like that. And then after a week or 24 hours or whatever it was, he used YouTube's inbuilt editor to cut the second half of his video, resulting in a 20-minute long video that people, let's say on average, watch 12 minutes of, and then cut that video in half, so now it looks like to YouTube that video has 12 minutes of watch time on a 10-minute video, which is an obscene amount of viewership. That is the equivalent of somebody watching a video all the way through and then going back and watching the most interesting minute in the middle of it. It's crazy. That video did do good numbers, and all of his videos sort of fall into that niche of videos. His videos about YouTube all fall into that niche, where he explains something and then sort of talks about how you can exploit it in theory in order to garner more views. He's done videos talking about community posts and introducing polls, click-through rates, thumbnails, average watch duration, that sort of thing. And obviously, he made a video talking about this current situation going on where everybody was feeling like they were getting a lack of viewership in the month of August, but this one was not as good. The Spiffling Brits video is like 20-something minutes long. I recommend you watch all of it if you want to have full context of his takes and opinions on the matter. I'm only going to do a brief summary of the important parts to it. But the main idea to take away from this video is the Spiffling Brits opinion on this, and the video sort of titled "YouTubers Are Wrong About This Situation," is that it's nothing. Genuinely, his take on this lack of viewership is, this is not a YouTube algorithm thing. This is not something that's ghostly behind the scenes and affecting these big channels. Rather, basically, this is all in your head. This isn't real. If you are seeing a lack of viewership, it's probably because in August people are going back to school and watching less YouTube, and that's all it is, and this is just YouTubers making a big fuss about nothing. And I am shocked that anybody took the time to watch the entirety of this video and any of the other videos actually analyzing their metrics, whether it be Red Letter Media or Linus or whomever, and took this with any level of legitimacy. Now, to be fair, the Spiffling Brit does not call out any of these creators and say that they're purposely being obtuse or hyperbolic when it comes to these viewerships. He just, I don't know, for whatever reason, just feels like it isn't the case, or this is completely normal. And everybody in the comments of this video are like, yeah, it's YouTubers just bitching about YouTube again. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Big Daddy Spiffling Brit, YouTube algorithm expert. I knew you'd come in and give the cold, hard, data-driven explanation of, nah, this is stupid. Very weird. The Spiffling Brit begins his video by talking about the original video by Second Wind, which I think was sort of everybody's first foray into something seems to be wrong with YouTube, where they basically say, hey, we have long-running shows that we do here on the channel. We know what kind of numbers we can expect when we cover a certain game in a certain way with our certain analytical style, and we can see with how often we upload that something happened in August that resulted in dramatically lower viewership. Linus said basically the same thing. I have been making videos about tech the same way that I always have for like a decade plus, and I noticed something weird, something wrong. There are big channels that are doing videos that they have done forever that are expected to do a certain amount of viewerships, and they upload. Linus like uploads every fucking day and has done for like 10 years. Like, if that dude is saying that something is wrong, he has so many more data points compared to almost anybody on YouTube who at best is uploading once a week. In the case of the Spiffling Brit, maybe once or twice a month at most. Surely you would just defer to his expertise in the situation. But no, he states that because the restricted mode, the thing that everybody sort of pointed a finger at but wasn't sure about, has existed for like a long time, well before the supposed lack in viewership, that it can't have anything to do with this alleged lack of viewership, right? I disagree, and I wish I had seen this video earlier so that I could say this before it feels like everybody else has said it. I'm not under the impression that restricted mode was introduced brand new and as a result has been the reason that people are noticing a lack of viewership in the middle of August. I just think it's a little bit too much of a coincidence that when you flip on restricted mode, it very clearly blocks all the videos that were uploaded since the middle of August. That's true on my channel. That's true on Red Letter Media. That's true on a number of other people. Restricted mode isn't perfect. And we can see from the last video that I did looking at my channel that the videos that it blocks don't seem to be ones that are particularly risque, adult-oriented, have more swearing than any other videos. In my opinion, it seems to have just started blocking videos after a certain date. And when you take a look at a number of different channels, it all feels like sometime in August or early July, whatever month is before August, all the videos just get blacklisted. If it is blacklisting anything, whether or not that goes hand in hand with the lack of viewership that people are noticing in August is, you know, to be determined at this point. But to simply say that because restricted mode has existed and is only there to keep schools and libraries from having adult content shown on them and has nothing to do with this, I don't think there's enough data to be able to say that it has nothing to do with it, and I think the fact that it so closely correlates with the time frame that everybody seems to have issues with on their channel needs a little bit more diving into and a proper response from YouTube to say whether or not it does anything before we can just be like, this is a red herring, anybody who's pointing to this is stupid, which is basically what the Spiffling Brit's take is this is nothing. His explanation for the lower viewership that people are noticing in August is basically the explanation that one would give to somebody who is experiencing a lower viewership, period, which is people are going back to school. There are less viewers available watching YouTube overall, which we know isn't the case, right? YouTube has as many people watching it this year as it has any other year. And even goes as far as to say that if anybody is experiencing a lack of viewership, it is due to the root cause of anybody experiencing a lack of viewership ever, which is maybe you're just not making clickable enough thumbnails, maybe you're just not making videos that people want to watch. And this is sort of the take that I have seen on the subreddit for Linus Tech Tips, where when he first made his clip from his podcast titled Our Views Are Down, I could not believe how stupid some of the comments were. He did a follow-up podcast episode where he pulled up a Reddit thread and was ready to read out some of the explanations that Redditors had for why their viewership might be down, but didn't. But don't worry, Linus, I am not that mature. I am here to do exactly that. It blows my mind. People are going, it's too many members videos, it's this, it's that. Linus isn't hosting enough videos. You're not doing enough Scrapyard Wars. You aren't doing videos people want to watch, in our opinion, and that's why you aren't getting as many views as possible. Completely ignoring the fact that this lack of viewership in August is a significant anomaly. Like, if you want to say it's because Linus isn't hosting as many videos, he hasn't been hosting as many videos since he stopped being the fucking CEO of his own YouTube channel. That was years ago. Not enough Scrapyard Wars, too many members videos. Those things have been going on for years. Why in God's name would that culminate in one random week of August and an entire month of underperforming videos when just the previous month, all of those videos were doing just fine? You're going to point to long-standing changes that have happened over the course of years for something that seems to have basically taken place overnight? Are you dumb? And that's not exactly what Spiffling Brit is saying, but I just want to say that it feels like his take on this is echoing a lot of what people in the comments are saying when they make a video talking about this, and a number of people have, which has been, I use pop-up blockers, or I stopped watching Linus, I had to block this channel, I don't watch this, I don't watch that. That's all cool, but millions of people do, right? And to see hundreds of thousands of people basically overnight not see the video, from what we can tell in our numbers, I'm going to get a little bit into why that's also not exactly true in a minute here, but I just feel like this is an awful take. Not only do I feel like it's wrong to think that that's what's going on, but it's also so incredibly disruptive to the methodology of people trying to come together to figure out what's going wrong. YouTube has not communicated what they've changed, if they've changed, why such a massive decrease in viewership seems to be affecting these channels. As a result, all of these YouTubers are making their own videos, analyzing their numbers, speaking on the issues to try to come to a conclusion as to what might be the cause. And then here comes the number one biggest face in let me explain how these behind the scenes YouTube things are going on, to come out and be like, everybody's wrong. That is literally like the title of the video, by the way. Everybody's wrong. And the real solution is just that you're all bad, get good, you're overthinking it, this is all in your head. What the fuck? Follow-up video released by Josh Strife Hayes, who does like analytical video game content as well as MMOs, as well as fitness. He's got a number of different channels doing a number of different things. On his, I don't even know if this is his main channel, but on his Josh Strife Hayes channel, he makes a video titled Proof YouTube Has Changed How Views Work, and the thumbnail is like, I think the Spiffling Brit is wrong. Everybody's sort of jumping on this. The Spiffling Brit is being way too overly simplistic, overly simplifying this issue and basically ignoring the issue when there is a real issue. He's claiming that there isn't. Josh Strife Hayes, like many people, has also experienced this random drop in viewership in August. And I want to reiterate this as many times as I can. This is not my numbers are down, give me more views. This is people who have been making videos for years and years and years. They are familiar with getting less viewership when people go to school. They are familiar with getting more viewership when Christmas comes around or when people are home from vacation and stuff like that. We all know what that feels like. This is different. Just take it from us YouTubers. This is different. Something's wrong. Josh Strife Hayes got a tip from one of his subscribers or another YouTuber or something that was basically like, hey, I noticed that in the middle of August, my mobile viewership, the people who watch my videos on phones, has overtaken the number of people who watch my videos on desktop, on a computer. And that is true for the first time in August since creating my channel. And Josh Strife Hayes shows a number of his channels, as well as a number of other YouTubers that he reached out to, showcasing graphs for the last 3 months, some of which for the last 3, 4, 10 years, that showcase the exact same thing. For the entire history of YouTube, when you take a look at your analytics, you can see that most of your viewership generally comes from desktop, people watching on a computer, and secondary to that, people watch on their phone. It's called mobile viewership in your analytics. And for some reason, right around August 10th or 11th, for Josh Strife Hayes, all of his friends, and hundreds of YouTubers in the comments of this confirming this is also true, starting August 10th, the viewership for desktops dropped. And instead of desktop being the #1 viewership for them, mobile viewership became #1. Not only that, but mobile viewership seems to have remained steady or even risen a bit, whereas desktop viewership has dropped dramatically. It's not even like mobile viewership shot up or what have you. It seems as though this very real loss in viewership on people's long-standing videos seems to be coming from something YouTube has changed that has affected how a desktop viewership is reflected in your analytics. Now, understanding and accepting that is true. Let's just say, yes, that is the problem. That is the thing that is going on. We're still not 100% sure, but this is the biggest lead we've got going on at this point. That kind of makes sense. We've recently got the introduction of AI age verification, restricted mode being more aggressive in one way or another, the war on ad blockers going on. All of these things affect desktop viewership more than other things. AI age verification hasn't necessarily been as quick to be implemented in the mobile space, on the mobile app. Obviously, everything happens on the computer and website desktop first before being moved to the mobile app. And so, if there is something introduced that makes it so that people watching on a desktop for whatever reason aren't counted as a view or aren't even being suggested the video or being shown, or if there's a delay or what have you, it seems to not be affecting people on phones, which is not nothing. Here is a screenshot of the last 3 months for my channel. As you can see on my channel, I actually have more mobile viewership than I do desktop viewership in any given week, any given month. These blue lines are mobile viewership, these green lines are desktop, and then there's TV and tablet afterwards. And as you can see, at any given time that I upload a video, all of these spikes are generally when I upload a video, you can see they jump up together because people watch on desktop and people watch on phones. You understand how YouTube works, right? And you can see that's true for everything right up until August, where once we get into August, and this is August 10th, I believe here, the date that everybody's talking about, I happen to have uploaded a video, you can see that the spike for mobile jumps like it does any other day, but the spikes for desktop are now so much lower. This gigantic gap between how many people watch on a phone versus how many people watch on a desktop, I still feel like with the videos getting as many views as they do, the mobile viewership is still about the same as you would expect. But the desktop viewership is so much less. Look at how much of a difference there is between phones and desktops on August 14th, on August 29th, on the 13th and everything. This is a bigger gap than I have ever seen on any of the other days that I have uploaded videos. And this is only exacerbated by channels that actually get a lot of views compared to mine. And this is the thing that everybody has been corroborating in the comments of that video. Gigantic 1 million, 10 million subscriber channels are all saying the same thing. Starting the first or second week of August, they have noticed that the mobile viewership seems to be about the same, but whether you get more desktop, more mobile, or whatever, once that August 10th date hits, something happens to the desktop viewership that results in dramatically less views, and that seems to be the key point that everybody is noticing in their overall lack of viewership on YouTube. this is not nothing. Dark Viper AU also seems to have made a video talking about this, sort of doing one of his chats on his Twitch stream, talking about how he's probably also... I haven't watched the video, but I assume it's the same thing because it's sort of titled the same way with the Spiffling Brit is wrong, basically. My main takeaway here is, A, we don't have a complete solution to what's going on, because the main issue that's happening here is actually not, oh, YouTube's changed. YouTube changes every fucking day. It's one of the most annoying things about doing this as a job, is you have to play chess against a guy who you can't see their pieces or their moves. Like, what the fuck are we expected to do, right? My main issue with this is it's a little bit the Spiffling Brit. And not like he made a bad video necessarily. It's just like the notion, the attitude about trying to sweep this under the rug as nothing that serious. It's like YouTube hasn't said anything on the matter. I think they've put out one tweet saying that we don't think anything's wrong with restricted mode. It's been around for like a decade. It's only used in public libraries and schools and stuff to restrict adult material. It shouldn't be fucking up your analytics or whatever. But outside of that, this has been a month going. It has taken dozens of big channels coming together, looking through nerdy fucking analytics to be able to say, hey, something is wrong with this thing that I have been doing. I have proof that there is wrong with this thing that's going on. People have done podcasts. I have made 2 episodes and a bonus episode talking about this so far. This is very much a real, some sort of issue. YouTube should probably be a little bit more clear when they make changes that make sweeping changes to people's viewership, the way they interact with their audience and their paycheck, in a way that doesn't feel like there's a ghost just sucking up. You know, how many people are making YouTube videos under the impression that this last month has just sucked, that they're bad at YouTube? Somebody somewhere has started a new series, maybe a podcast, where he's been talking about stuff that he loves in an effort to try to change up the things that he covers on his channel, to upload more often, and maybe that guy thinks his audience fucking hates him. Thinks everybody hates the idea of listening to him talk into a webcam. Oh, God forbid a YouTube creator create a video on YouTube and be met with a resounding boo, as far as they can tell, based on views and metrics, which is everything that they have available to them to try to improve their craft. And it turns out it wasn't even your fucking fault. It's YouTube flipping switches like a monkey getting bananas and zapped in the ass when he doesn't push the right button. And you just have to accept that. Thank goodness people who are making actually good content and have actually gotten a big audience are taking the time to speak on this and even dive into putting on their detective hat, putting on their engineer hat, looking into the numbers, gathering together other content creators to source together enough information to be able to be like, hey, something is wrong with YouTube. Hopefully this garners enough attention for YouTube to finally say something on the matter. But like, everybody who has taken a look at this, and I mainly mean commenters that are going, yeah, Sumet, your views suck because you're not doing meme reviews. Nobody wants the Spodcast. Nobody wants Linus not hosting videos. The hundreds of excuses for why videos could underperform, I understand people are just trying to voice what they love, right? You don't interpret this as a negative thing. If somebody is taking the time to give you feedback on something, even if it's, I hate your new videos, what they're really trying to say is, I loved your old videos so much. I miss them. I wish you did more of them. I want more content from you in the way that I signed up for. That's all fine. Nobody's mad at people providing criticism. But when it leads into this dismissive, sweep everything under the rug, YouTubers are going to YouTube and bitch and complain about their job. That's all they ever do. It delegitimizes the actual issues going on with the platform that YouTube has been completely silent about. You've been on this platform long enough to know that the only time YouTube fucking changes anything is when people start bitching and moaning about it. Can you really blame YouTubers for bitching and moaning about something that YouTube seems to have fucked up for the 1000th time? AI verification, swapping out people's thumbnails, demonetizing and removing channels for absolutely no reason, removing the dislike button, giving subscribers to Will Smith. Stop doing dumb shit, YouTube. Full disclosure, I think this is maybe a reporting issue versus a true change in the way YouTube is doing things. Now, I can take a look at my channel and see that my numbers are down. But as I've said a couple times now, I've swapped up to a slightly different format. I took a 2-week hiatus. It always takes a little bit of time. I remember when I got married, I didn't upload for like 6 weeks. And it took quite a bit of uploading all the exact same stuff I normally did before my numbers started to get normal, because I imagine I just fell out of people's algorithm and suggested for, you know, being ghost for the better part of a month. But there are a number of other people who are seeing a loss in viewership to the tune of like hundreds of thousands of views on content that is the same as what they've always been. All of the criticism against you've changed, you've done something different, blah, 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 doesn't apply to everybody. Some of the people who have been getting this lack of viewerships, one of the dudes in the comments of the Josh Strife Hayes video is Chris Broad from abroad in Japan. That guy makes astounding videos. They are all about travel and culture in Japan, some of which are travel vlogs, some of which are food vlogs, some of which are just talking head information things about Japanese culture, but like they're all Japan, sort of funny, British comedy, fast cut. Nothing has changed on his channel for like 8 fucking years, okay? If that guy is noticing a loss in viewership randomly in the middle of August, you cannot say that's because of a lack of change, people going back to school, any of that, because he's been doing it for so long with all the same stuff. Arguably, you could say the exact same thing about Linus. I don't know how many times I need to say this. Clearly, there's something wrong with the algorithm. I'm not the best example, but there are plenty of very good examples for that. But the fact that Linus did a deeper dive into his analytics and his producer found that they were still making the same amount of money because of an increase in the amount of money they were making per view, despite millions of less views in that month of August, to me said, and they're getting more likes than they were previously, something isn't adding up. All of those things cannot be true. And do I think they're not getting those likes? Do I think they're not getting that money? No, because those are things people need to push a button for. Do I think that actual million less views maybe might just be there's a million views in there somewhere, but YouTube just hasn't finalized it? Does that make sense? People watched it, people clicked, but for some reason they didn't watch for more than half the video, or they didn't click subscribe, or they were watching with the tab not open or muted or something that has made it so YouTube's been like, hey, let's not count these for this month and see what happens. And that would result in you still getting the same amount of likes, still getting the same amount of money, but not seeing the views when the views are actually there, sort of like a ghost. Hey, these take 30 days to update. Maybe it'll show up next month and be reflected accurately last month. That's, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. But this is not a clear-cut issue. This is not something we have a direct answer to. Hopefully, the big takeaway from this, YouTube needs to be clear with their communication. Like, this is something that might seem a little bit overblown because to you, you're just watching videos. You probably haven't noticed people on your desktop not showing up, because why would you? It seems as though everybody who's clicking like is still seeing all their videos. The people who watch the channels are still getting those channels recommended to them. It's the channels that you only watch sometimes, it seems like, that are now getting suggested to you less often, and that's a much more difficult thing to notice when you don't have the data points of a million people like you do as a YouTuber posting the videos and seeing that your views have dropped. YouTube should say something. I wish this issue was bigger. I wish this issue was like when people clicked onto YouTube, every video was blank. Your entire homepage was just black thumbnails and clicking a video took you to something random, completely unrelated to you. Because at least if it was a very obvious issue like that, something that affected viewers specifically, YouTube would fucking say something. People would be talking about it. But because this is such a minute, difficult to analyze, almost difficult to notice issue, you instead end up with a bunch of people feeling like they're being gaslit into whether or not there is actually anything wrong, or if this is just an exacerbated, ramification of people going back to school. And that's how you end up with a video like the Spiffling Brit coming in and going, hey, all of this is bullshit. None of this is a real issue. To his credit, at his time, before Josh Strife Hayes' video came out with real data points and everything, he probably had an ever so slightly legitimate take for a little bit of time. But I feel like if you watch the entirety of Linus's video, like, it's very difficult to say somebody with that many viewerships, that many data metrics is just making this up, or somebody who's been doing this for that long isn't familiar with yeah, man, views go down in August. People go back to school. Like, little bit silly. Little bit silly. I hope there's a real conclusion to this. If you guys have any updates on this, I'm sure there are going to be more and more people releasing videos talking about this as we get more data on the method. Hopefully YouTube fucking says something. But regardless, thank you for making it to the end of yet another episode of the Spodcast. Remember to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, I'll probably have another one up this weekend. Bonus videos and extended cuts available on the Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to everything and supports the show. I thank you in advance. And I will see you on the next episode, bitching about something ever so slightly different. Spisu.